Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe, and today I'm going to be reviewing, recapping, and reacting to this past weekend's Week 9 matchup that saw Da Bears travel from the Windy City to the Big Easy and the Caesars Superdome to take on our beloved, bless you boys, in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. It was a close game, and the Saints found a way to win on the back of 5 forced turnovers. Final score, Saints 24, Chicago 17. So the Saints went into the game about an 8.5 point favorite, 9 point favorite. Everyone figured the Saints would win, running away with it. And any given Sunday, right? A lot of fans are a little upset. We forced 5 turnovers and we can only win the game by a touchdown. Well, I feel the same way. You see the final stats, and when you're watching the game and you get into that fourth quarter, we're up by 7. We scored that touchdown at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and that entire quarter, we're up by 7. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable. And we forced 3 turnovers in that quarter, and we don't get any points out of any of them. So, that's where the disappointment comes in. It felt like we could have put this game away, and we had plenty of chances to do it, and we just couldn't do it. But we did do it. I think that's the key. That's what I'm going to focus on. When a team has the ball, their intention is to score. Our defense has one job: stop them from scoring. Whether we force them to punt, whether they mess up and miss a field goal, whether they go for it on fourth down and they don't get it, or whether we force a turnover. The end result is the same. The thing about these turnovers is we were forcing them in the fourth quarter and giving our offense great field position. And we couldn't capitalize on, I'll say, 2 of them. So we have to remember the ebb and flow of the game. In the first quarter, we had an interception, and we marched down the field and scored a touchdown off of that one. Later on in the first half, we forced a fumble. No, in the third quarter, we forced a fumble. That's when we got our second turnover. And we converted that into a field goal. So 2 forced turnovers, 2 scores. Good to go now. But in the fourth quarter, we forced 3 turnovers and we didn't get any points out of them. But the entire time that happened, we had a 7-point lead. So the second interception, we were in chip shot field goal range, and we decided to go for it on fourth down, 4th and 1. And we try to hurry up to the line and do a quarterback sneak with Derek Carr. Okay. This is where the play calling gets weird for me. I like taking chances. I like doing things they don't expect. But a quarterback sneak with Derek Carr, when you're up by 7 and a chip shot field goal right here will give you a 2-possession lead. You have to take that. In my opinion, you have to take that field goal. So I blame the play calling on that one. And then on the third interception, we had to punt the ball. Still up by 7. But at that point, we've had 2 turnovers and we haven't converted on either one. The last turnover was a fumble. Forced fumble, and all we needed to do was get a first down and we win the game. And that's what we did. So I feel like we were kind of like 2 of 2. We scored on the first 2 and we couldn't do anything on those second 2. And I don't blame the offense so much because that horrible play call. I mean, I'm just saying, I guess the ebb and flow of the game at the time, we had forced a couple of turnovers at that point, and we thought maybe the defense had it figured out, and we decided to go for it. If Taysom Hill does a run there, he has to take the shotgun position. So, he's going to be backed up 5 more yards. You only need 1 yard. Drew Brees would have done the little sneak, and that would have been that. We could have put the jumbo package out there and tried to do the Taysom Hill run. In my opinion, we're up by 7. If we were up by 8, if we were up by 9, then I might consider going for it on 4th and 1. But we weren't up by 2 possessions. We were only up by 1. So I highly disagree with that call. And I don't really blame the offense for it. Pete Carmichael makes the call. You have to go out there and execute. You didn't. So, yeah, bad on you for that. But that's not really one of those high percentage short yardage plays that we've seen yet. Andy Dalton managed a couple of 4th and short quarterback sneaks last year. Maybe Carr's no good at it, like throwing the slant. Anyway, I was going to save this kind of rant until the end of this, but it's kind of like the talk of the town now, so just wanted to give you my opinion on it. The year the Saints won the Super Bowl, I wouldn't say that was the greatest team on paper that we ever had. But the reason why it was the greatest team we ever had is because we found a way to win all of those games. We found a way to win 13 regular season games. We blow Arizona out in the playoffs. Are we good enough to blow somebody out in the playoffs this year? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think we're good enough to claw and scratch and find a way to win if we don't hurt ourselves. So we do not turn the ball over. That's a good thing. Being +5 in the turnover margin, forcing 5 turnovers and not turning the ball over, that's a pretty good thing. I mean, you can force Chicago to punt 5 times, or you can watch them miss a couple of field goals. Anyway, you get that offense off the field. So 5 turnovers, and we as an offense do not turn the ball over. That's what you need to do to win. Then we only get penalized 1 time. That's the kind of stuff you need to do to win. In the end, Derek Carr was very accurate. Our running game couldn't get going, but as bad as everyone says the Chicago Bears are, they're number 1 against the run as far as yards per carry. They were the number 1 defense against the run in that stat when we faced them. So, we managed 80-something yards on the ground. Pretty tough day running for the Saints. Yeah, 27 carries, 87 yards. We ran the ball 27 times. We attempted 34 passes. The Bears were a little more balanced, 30 passes, 32 rushes, including 8 runs by the rookie quarterback, Tyson Bagent. And, Deontay Foreman, 20 carries, 80-something yards. That was more disturbing to me than the lack of production off of turnovers. Because like I said, we scored a touchdown off one, kick a field goal off another. We fail on downs on the 3rd one, which to me is the ridiculous one. And on the 4th one, we don't convert. We don't make a first down. We have to punt. That happens sometimes. And then on the 5th one, we ran the clock out. So we produced after that 5th one. We did what we had to do to win. We ran the clock out. And we had to punt once, but then that 4th and 1 is just, that's the one right there that gets me. So this is the way I look at it. Any team can win. We shut out New England 34-0, and they ended up going on to beat the Bills. We saw the Jets this year beat the Eagles. It's just one of them things. Any team can win at any time. That Super Bowl year, I remember we weren't even supposed to beat the Patriots, and we had pulled people off the street to play cornerback, and we end up beating them so bad that Belichick pulled Brady out halfway through the fourth quarter. So you never know what happens. There was that other game against Miami where Ricky Williams was running crazy all over us. I think at one point they were winning 24-3, and we ended up scoring 40 points or something, winning by double digits. Ebb and flow of a game, you just have to find a way to win. That Super Bowl year, remember when that cornerback for the Redskins picked off Breeze right in front of Robert Meacham, and then Meacham stripped the ball from him and took it all the way for a touchdown? That kind of stuff. Kind of reminds me of earlier this year when Vaughn had the interception and then fumbled the return. Gave it right back to him. You have to have the ball bounce in your favor. So I think we did enough in this game to earn this win, being that we only got penalized once. We forced 5 turnovers. We didn't turn the ball over ourselves. And we were pretty productive in the red zone. All in all, in the end, it was 3 out of 5. But one of them was going for it on fourth down when we should have kicked the field goal. But, still didn't get a touchdown there. And then on the 5th one, we ran the clock out. So excellent in the red zone again this year. Or in this game. Compared to the rest of this year, I think it's not that bad. And on third downs, we were 7 out of 14. The Bears were 6 out of 12. We were both 50% on third down. It's good for us, not good for our defense. So, yeah, all in all, despite forcing 5 turnovers, I feel like it's the defense's inability to stop the run consistently in this game and their inability to get the offense off the field on those third downs. But at the same time, we only allow 17 points. And that's where I'm at with this team. Last year, we lost every game. I say this in every video. Last year, we lost every game by an average score of 20-19. Our defense is good enough to hold teams to under 20 points. Can our offense be good enough to score over 20 points? I don't care how you get there. 5 plus 5 in the turnover margin or forcing a team to punt 10 times. Doesn't matter to me. In the end, we win the game by 7 points. If you bet on it in Vegas, you're not happy. But I'm happy as a Saints fan, that's for sure. Let's pull up the stats, and we'll finally get down to the numbers of what happened. Quarterback Derek Carr, 25 of 34, 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that yardage there is ugly. When you complete 25 passes, you should have at least 250 yards, in my opinion. A lot of dinking and dunking. I guess there was a lot of too deep safety in this game by the Bears, and we were having to keep everything underneath. It wasn't like we were gaining 0 yards the whole game with our passes. We were gaining some yards, but overall, it's a good day for Carr. He doesn't turn the ball over. He does not get sacked. And he didn't even throw a single pass that even had a chance to be contested, really. So it's the kind of game you want. Those numbers right there are the best day from Andy Dalton, So that's what Carr did. He did enough to win. Taysom Hill at quarterback had 1 pass. It was a beautiful play. They were set up to do the run from the 3-yard line. Colin Saunders runs out into the flat, the right flat, and Hill's going to throw the ball to him. He ends up drawing triple coverage, leaving Juwan Johnson wide open in the left side. So when Hill realized he couldn't go to his first read, he didn't tuck and run. He decided to go through his progressions. And good job by Jamal Williams of picking up a blitz. Good job by the offensive line of holding up just long enough for Hill to go through his progressions and find that wide open Juwan Johnson in the end zone. So 3 passing touchdowns by the quarterbacks today. And those are the 3 touchdowns we scored. Those were the points we needed. Also, we kicked a field goal, but we missed a field goal. I thought the final score was going to be 27-17, so this game went just about the way I thought it would as far as the points go. And I knew we'd have a tough job running the ball, and we did. Taysom Hill ends up leading the team with 11 carries for 52 yards, an average of 4.7 a carry. He had a long of 14, and yeah, Taysom Hill is obviously the offensive player of the game. Alvin Kamara had a decent game. You know, it's funny. Kamara had 26 rushing yards, 44 receiving yards, so he ends up with 70 yards on the day. And when it's Kamara, you feel like that's not a very good day. Well, running the ball, it wasn't a good day, and I don't think it was a good day for the offensive line running the ball either. I don't know. I didn't watch the game in full detail to see what was happening on the offensive line. All I know is that Garcia was replaced by Hurst. Hurst is coming back from an ankle injury, and Hurst isn't the strongest player. He's not a very good run blocker, whether he's playing guard or tackle. So if they put Garcia back in there, it wouldn't surprise me. And that's the only difference I can see. Other than that, the Bears are actually a really good team at stopping the run, which is contradicting to what all the Saints fans are screaming, that this team sucks. We should have blown them away. I don't know. They're good against the run, and they were good today. And I want our offensive line to run block better. Kamara can't be going for 2.9 a carry. He's got to get 3.5 at least. He had a long of 13, which means he had 8 carries for 13 yards. Besides that, just not good enough. Jamal Williams had 3 carries for only 6 yards. Derek Carr is credited with 3 carries for 3 yards. He had a long of 4. So, I don't know how they figure that stuff out. And Kendre Miller had 1 carry for no yards. On the receiving end, Chris Olave leads the team. He has 6 catches on 8 targets, and that's a great percentage for Olave. 6 catches for only 46 yards, but hey, led the team. And he found the end zone. Olave gets a touchdown. I predicted at the beginning of the year that Olave would finish with 5 touchdowns for the year. So his slow start here, getting to the end zone, I kind of expected he'd only get about 5. Now I expected Thomas to get about 7. And that's not happening yet. But there's that. Alvin Kamara was targeted 5 times. He caught 4 balls for 44 yards. Really good on the receiving for Kamara. Kendre Miller was targeted 1 time, and once again he catches it, and he turns that thing into a 31-yard reception. Now, we were deep on our side when this play happened, and this 31-yard carry got us around the 40 to 50-yard line. We ended up having to punt on that drive, but that was when we were able to pin them deep, and we dominated field position after that point. So yeah, I'm putting a pin in that play. That 31-yard catch by Kendre Miller. We punt at the end of that drive, but he flipped the field for this team. And the defense, kept it that way with the forced turnovers at the end of the game. Foster Moreau had a target, and he caught it for 23 yards, his longest reception of the year. Rashid Shaheed last week had 3 catches for 153 yards. Today, he had 3 catches for 22 yards. He was targeted 3 times, caught all of them. Taysom Hill was targeted 5 times. He caught 4 balls for 13 yards. That was like where the short plays were coming. It was like, can we get something going with the tight ends as far as yards? I mean, Juwan Johnson ends up with a touchdown and 5 catches. So I'm going to say Juwan Johnson had a good game. 5 catches on 5 targets, 29 yards. It's less than 6 yards a catch. And in Hill, 4 catches for 13 yards. So it seemed like the tight ends for the majority of the game were getting a lot of receptions, but it was for short yardage. They were taking everything away deep. Jamal Williams had 2 catches on 3 targets for only 6 yards. And of course, iconically, Michael Thomas ends up with 0 catches. He was only targeted once. It was incomplete, but he drew a holding call from the cornerback, so it produced a first down. But apparently, Michael Thomas was double covered in the red zone the whole game. And apparently, there were a few plays where he was open, but I guess Carr was so used to them shadowing and shading Thomas that he just didn't look at him for most of the game. And yeah, if Thomas doesn't catch anything, and he's been the most consistent receiver this year, if he doesn't catch anything all game and we still win, that's a plus. So overall, as far as the stats go, we only have 300 yards of total offense. That hurts. They had over 350. But the real problem is they had 250 in the first half. And when it was all said and done, we went into halftime tied at 14. But our defense allowing 250 yards, crazy. And then in the third quarter, we allowed another really big drive. Tyson Bagent was, running around. That is a problem that the Saints have. We've always had it. Maybe they don't practice for it, and so they're really bad at it when they don't practice for it. This week, they're going to face the Minnesota Vikings and probably Josh Dobbs, and they better practice for it because Josh Dobbs is going to run a lot. And I think it's going to be a tough challenge for this team. Like I said, defensively, when you force 5 turnovers, it's hard to say you had a bad day. But when you allow 250 yards in one half and you allow 150-something yards rushing for the other team, yeah, that's bad. So the defense needed to force 5 turnovers because they allowed too much to begin with. They had to make up for it somehow. And I think it was inconsistent play from the front 7, the linebackers, and that defensive line. On defense, leading the way, we had Demario Davis with 10 total tackles. He had a sack. He had a forced fumble. That was the last offensive possession for the Bears. That forced fumble almost sealed the deal for us. We had to put the nail in the coffin with a first down. So, but good job on Davis. And the defensive player of the game, cornerback Paulson Adebo, had the cornerback day of dreams, the greatest day a cornerback can ever have. I wonder how many cornerbacks have ever done this in a game. I'd be curious to know. I'll be listening for that stat this week. Adebo finishes with 7 total tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 3 passes defense. Has a cornerback ever had multiple interceptions, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery? It's possible. And 7 tackles? It's possible. I'm thinking somebody out there might have done all that and scored a touchdown. But, besides that, this is like the greatest day a cornerback can have statistically, Great day. He should be the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And in my opinion, this is the 3rd game in a row that Paulson Adebo has been the defensive player of the game. We have ourselves a stud in this 3rd-round draft pick out of Stanford. This is his 3rd year. He's not injured, and yeah, he's performing excellently. Defensive end Cam Jordan, 7 total tackles. He gets a sack. He gets 2 quarterback hits. Jordan was felt. His pressure was felt late in the game, and that helped to seal the deal. But you got to be better. The whole defensive line has to be better against the run, and you have to be better in the first half. Safety Tyrann Mathieu, 6 total tackles and a pass defensed. Defensive end Carl Granderson, 5 total tackles, a tackle for a loss, and a quarterback hit. Granderson needs to be better against the run as well. Like I said, the entire defensive line was too inconsistent and just not good enough in the first half. Just not good enough. But they forced the issue in the end, and Cam Jordan and Granderson were the guys doing that for the most part. Nathan Shepard in the middle of the defensive line gets 5 total tackles, as does Colin Sonder, the fullback playing defensive tackle. He gets 5 total tackles. 10 total tackles by your defensive tackles. Pretty good stuff. But we're allowing too much on the ground. Safety Marcus May has 3 total tackles and an interception. But Marcus May got juked by the quarterback again. We saw that happen earlier this year, where it seems like he's afraid to hit the quarterback, and the next thing you know, the quarterback keeps running. The interception was impressive, but overall, May's game was just okay after that. Jordan Howden has to be thought about in this scenario. But hey, May gets a big play with the interception. If you can make a big play every game, you can keep your job for now. Pete Werner only had 3 total tackles. He was out of position all day. I love Pete Werner as a player. I think he's one of the best linebackers. I wouldn't want to get rid of him for nothing. But he's got to get a little more dialed in. Now, maybe he's having a bit of a slump in this past month. He is. And that can get turned around, because if it does, then this defense looks a lot better. Marshon Lattimore only finishes the game with 3 total tackles, but he had a really good game because he was only targeted. I think he only allowed 2 completions the whole game. One was a 9-yard completion, but one of them he bit on a run, and it was a Mooney pass that ended up going for 30-something yards. Now, Lattimore gave that up. But other than that, they had to keep going to the other side of the field. That's why Adebo ended up with so many opportunities in this game. So overall, Lattimore had a decent game. You're going to give up a big play every now and then. Who did not have a good game is linebacker Zach Baun. He finishes with 2 tackles. But he was completely out of position. He cannot cover. He allows the Cole Kmet touchdown, the second one at least. And, he couldn't keep up with that at all. Cornerback Alontae Taylor, 2 total tackles and a pass defensed. And maybe they'll play Taylor more than Baun. I don't know. When a team's going to run the ball and you want to put 3 linebackers out there, Baun's a bigger guy, but Taylor's pretty good at tackling. He's a good run defender. So, I might just keep Taylor out there instead of putting Baun, no matter how much they're running the ball. Like I said, I haven't watched the all 22 or anything like that. So perhaps we were trying to go nickel, and that's why. And they kept getting good runs. I don't know if that's why they were successful. They were successful because the defensive line were getting blocked up. Pete Werner was getting blocked. Those things were happening. So Malcolm Roach, 2 total tackles. Brian Bresee, two total tackles and a pass defense. Brian Bresee gets a pass defense in every game, it seems. What an amazing thing. I love seeing our first-round draft pick at least go out there and do something, make a play. And that pass defense was a really good one. It was late in the game. I believe at that point the Bears were forced to punt. Yeah. So that fourth quarter was rough for the Bears. They end up throwing a interception, missing or punting, fumbling. They throw 2 interceptions. They fumble, and then that Brian Bresee pass defense that leads to a punt. There was chances for the Saints to put this game away, and I know that's disappointing for us. But like I said, I explained it earlier in the video. It's We scored off of 2 of them. We ran the clock out on 1. And on 1, we decided to go for it on 4th and 1 instead of kick a sure thing to give us a 2-possession lead. So I'm not so bummed out about the 5 turnovers leading to only a 7-point win. We missed a field goal earlier in the day, but Groupie made the 55-yarder that gave us the lead. And that's a pretty high-pressure kick, in my opinion. The one he missed, we were already up by 7 points. It would have gave us a nice cushion, and he shouldn't be missing kicks that are less than 50 yards. That's a lot to ask for. That 40 to 49-yard range has been bad. It was bad for Lutz last year. Matter of fact, Lutz hasn't even attempted a kick between 40 and 49 yards with the Broncos this year. I think Sean Payton knows that that's kryptonite. Hey, anything over 50, we can go for it. He can make it. That's just that sweet spot there, But Groupie's going to have to do better. I'm going to give Groupie a pass. He's a rookie right now. And I'm going to base this on what I saw from Lutz last year. So Lutz missed 7 kicks last year. I think he finished something like 25 out of 31, something like that. 25 out of 32. I know he missed 7 kicks. And he was coming off of a surgery and all that. But he was a 9-10-year veteran. Okay, Groupie's a rookie. If he misses 7, 8 kicks this year, I'm still going to look at it as, hey, 2 years ago when we didn't have Lutz, that's when field goal kicking is at its worst. What we have with Groupie right now is a young guy. And he's so small, it makes me think he can't make the long kicks. Well, he can make the long kicks. He can make a 55-yarder in the dome to take the lead in a football game. He did that. Now, he doinks one off the upright later on, and it's a 48-yarder. That sucks. But look, people forget, Morten Andersen was not an 82% accuracy kicker. Morten Andersen was below 80%. Morten Andersen was about 77, 78%. So basically, Morten Andersen would go out there every game, and he'd make 3 55-yarders, and then he'd miss one from 40 yards. Okay, and as long as he kept making those long ones, we were excited. Our offense couldn't move the ball sometimes, and for us to be able to roll the guy out there and make a 55-yard kick every time, he was a weapon, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. John Corney was the guy that was making 83% accuracy. And right now, Justin Tucker's, he's hovering around 90%. And if you want to be the greatest of all time, that's where you need to be, 90%. But if you want to play football in the NFL, you have to be at least 80%. That's what I think. Like I said, Andersen was a little below that, but he was a weapon with his leg. And, he just could make everything between 50 and 63 yards. So he was a weapon. Right now, Groupie's struggling. I think on the year, he's 15 out of 20. So he's missed 5, and he's at 75%. So I think Groupie, in order to prove that he's worth keeping, he's going to have to go on a streak here and make about 6 or 8 in a row. Because he started the year 11 out of 12. And since then, he's gone 4 out of 8. And that 50% over the last 8 kicks is what's hurting his overall numbers. So I've broken down everything and how I feel about it. Overall, I think that the Saints did what they had to do to win. The defense allowed too many rushing yards, too many yards in the first half again. But if they hold the team to under 20 points and they force 5 turnovers, okay, we need them to hold the team to under 20. We need to score more than 20, and we did. We scored 24. We could have had probably 33. I think if this game would have ended 33-17, if we wouldn't have missed that field goal, if we would have gone for the field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, if we'd have done those 2 things, maybe we don't get that first down to run the clock out and we kick a field goal right there at the end of the game with 10 seconds to go. and then you're talking about a 33-17 win. And the bottom line is you get +5 in turnovers. You expect to win the game. Losing the game would have been a tragedy. Winning the game by 7 points, the ebb and flow of the game, as I explained it feels bad because you're up by 7 in the fourth quarter. You get 2 turnovers and you can't capitalize on it. That third turnover in the fourth quarter, we capitalized on. We ran the clock out. So trying to keep things positive, trying to keep things in perspective. Rashid Shaheed was amazing. He had a 24-yard kick return, and he had 2 good punt returns. I think one was only 6 or 7 yards, but one was like 14 yards, and it helped to keep the field position in favor of the Saints, as did those turnovers that we forced. So that's it. That's all I got. I question Hurst at left guard if the running game's going to struggle. I'm going to give him a pass this time because he's coming back from an ankle injury. So we'll see. Kudos to Andres Pete for holding up at left tackle this long. Kudos to Colin Saunders for being a team player and for being Binkatron and drawing all that coverage. Kudos on the Saints for scoring 3 touchdowns in the red zone. They should have at least kicked a field goal on the 4th one, and then on the 5th one, we're constantly running the clock out in the red zone. That's happened like 3 times this year so far. That skews those red zone numbers too, but hey, we convert 50% on third downs. We convert 50% plus in the red zone touchdowns. We only have 1 penalty in the game, and we don't turn the ball over as an offense. You're going to win games if you do that. And despite only having 300 yards of offense, that's what we did. We found a way to win. There you go, guys. Subscribe to my channel, Rosenfield 10. I'll be doing a preview of the upcoming matchup against our dreaded NFC foe, the Minnesota Vikings. That video will probably come out on Thursday, so subscribe and keep in tune. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?